I do literally for you. All right, here we go. All right, so I do want to make sure we wrap up our week 2. So we left off at the Yellow River. Is that correct? All right, so we started with the Zia yesterday talking about them, and we are in the Shang. Perfect. All right, now the Shang. There's a couple big things you need to know about the Shang. The Shang are going to be your foundation of all Chinese society. Yes, the first civilization is the Zia, but it's actually the Shang that everyone refers to when they look at traditions and stuff like that. But the Shang and the Zhao are going to be laying down the foundation. Of course, the Shang are going to be the first of that, yes.
Where do they get their names?
It's typically the surname of the leader, the original guy's start. As we get going and we have better written records, remember the Shang aren't writing. It's going to be the Zhao that are writing in China. Once we start writing languages, you're going to have to start knowing names. So since they're slower to start writing, we don't have any names for the Shang or the Shao, but the Qin we do, which is your next major next major dynasty coming up in period 2. So there'll be a lot more names coming at you. So right now, you only need to know what? One name, Hammurabi, and then you have a couple gods, and that's about it. Once we get to the Aryans, though, you have a lot of things you need to know for the Aryans, but we'll get there when we get there. All right, so the Shang, they're going to be of your horse-drawn chariots, which are a big deal. They're also going to have burial practices that are kind of unique. They're going to, go around killing women. Ladies, if your husband was killed, you are also going to be killed. The good thing is, in China, you get to take poison. In India, you're expected to throw yourself on the burning body. So, go China. Kind of, yeah. Yes, well, and if your husband, the one that could beat you and kill you if you wanted to because he was cranky, his meatloaf was bad, you're supposed to throw yourself onto his body as it's burning in India so you can allow your children to have honor. Because if your children don't have honor, they're going to be neglected. So you had to kill yourself in order for your children to continue in society. So, yeah, but we'll get to that here in a few minutes here. All right, so your Zhao. This is your third of your major dynasties. The Zhao is going to create the mandate of heaven. If anything you leave here knowing today is that the Zhao created the mandate of heaven. The Shang are going to lay the foundation for government, but it's the Zhao that create the mandate of heaven. And the mandate of heaven justifies the rising and the falling of dynasties, which is why when most dynasties fall, things don't fall into complete chaos. Like when the Roman Empire falls, after Rome falls, does Europe fall into chaos? Absolutely. It's called the Dark Ages. It's what we call it, the medieval times, all that stuff. In China, that doesn't happen because we have the mandate of heaven, so it's a huge piece. Another major thing is there's no law codes in China. It's all done by decree. That's a big deal. It's on my list over here. Okay. Have you guys ever seen Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Okay, you've one of the later ones, I can't remember. It's Umbridge comes she was the dark arts, and then she becomes headmaster. When she becomes headmaster, she experienced this thing, and then the next day, you have the guy hanging up a decree. There's no more student-led groups. There's no more any of this. There's all that stuff. That is leading by decree. She would experience something, and then she would change it because she wanted to. Okay, so leading by decree means if Gabby came to me today and said a funny joke, and I laughed hysterically, like, oh my God, that's so funny, Gabby. And then tomorrow I'm in a cranky mood and she tells me the same exact joke, I could have her executed. We can do whatever we want. Ugh, what a lame joke. You're dead. Okay? Ordering by decree. Everything's based completely on a whim. There's no structure. There's no organization. It is unpredictable. Is this good or bad for normal people like you and I? Bad. Absolutely. They could just make any changes they want and we have to jump through that hoop. So it's not a very good way to rule. Do you think the people are going to get frustrated with it? Absolutely. What do you got, Ramsey?
So you're saying, like, your neighbor's house, they say, can I have $20 for your taxes? And then when they come to yours, they're like, can I have $200?
Absolutely. It can change at a whim, and that's what the big issue. So when we think about Mesopotamia, the standardization, do you think the normal people like you and I would appreciate that? Absolutely. There's predictability in Mesopotamia. You know if you do this, this is going to be the outcome. Same thing that it's not what's happening in China, and that's important that you know. Yes, ma'am?
What is the third thing on the board?
Decentralization, I'm getting to that right now, actually. Okay, so the Zhao are going to look at the Shang's government system. The Shang are going to be centralized, which means the government themselves is going to make the decision. Everyone has to do what the government says. The Zhao are like, hey, that worked for them, but I think decentralized. So inside each village of the Zhao, they would have a leader in place. And that leader would make the decisions for that area. Now, on a small scale, in our little village, okay, I am your leader. I get to make decisions that you guys need, correct? So if I see that we need an extra day to review for a test, can I make that decision as the village leader? Absolutely. Okay, that's nice. Instead of having Rob Nelson tell me that I have to test tomorrow, okay, I get to make that decision. That's nice, correct? So local people, is decentralization a good thing or a bad thing? Good thing. Now say, for instance, Plain High School is under attack, and Rob Nelson asked our little village to go, but it's getting attacked over by the new building. Do we want to really help the new building people? No. You don't know them. I am your leader. You know each other. Were you going to really sacrifice each other to go save those people? Hell no. Same thing's happening in the Zhao. With the Zhao, because they're not really affiliated with one another, because it's decentralized and local leaders are ruling, when the North is getting attacked, do you think the people in the South gave a crap? No. Oh, you're getting attacked? Ah, should have been better. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So the Zhao is going to fall to northern invaders, and that's a big deal because their government system doesn't work. Now, here in the United States, are we centralized or decentralized? We're both. Yes. We look at the lessons, and government is going to kind of evolve. Is having a purely decentralized government effective? Mm-mm. Is having a purely centralized government effective at this time? No, because can you really regulate everything? No, absolutely not. So the United States is centralized by our federal government. So Obama and the Senate and Congress and all that stuff get to make that decision, make decisions for us that affect us. But we also have state officials who are making our local decisions. So it's a hybrid system. We're going to see in the first period 1, 2, and about 3, we start seeing hybrid systems. Because we're going to have some people who are super centralized, and that's going to work for some things and not work for other things, and we're going to start seeing hybrid. So just keep that in mind. Okay, once the Zhao fall, because there's going to be an invader to the north, it's literally going to split up China, and China's going to fall into chaos. The Zhao is going to fall. It starts a period of warring states. It's about 200, 150 years to 200 years of everyone just straight up killing each other. It's like gang wars. It's crazy. It is a terrible time to be alive. You're just going in and you're just killing people in the middle of the night. It's the craziest thing. It would be a great movie. No one's done it as long as I know. However, it falls into complete chaos. Okay, so we've had government for 3 dynasties for about 500 years. Then it falls into chaos for about 200 years. Okay, then when we pick up again in period 2, we pick up with the Qin, who are going to pick up. Okay, so that's your Zhao, and falls into warring states. They're pretty much just gangs. All right. Biggest thing you need to know about your social order. It's a patriarchal society. Now, China's a pretty big patriarchal society. However, it's not the worst. What region is the worst for patriarchy? It's still the worst today, actually. No one has any idea. What country in the world today, in 2016, is it terrible to be a woman in it? Ripke? No. He speaks Charlotte? No, actually, the Middle East are doing okay. You don't have a ton of rights, but you're doing okay. They're not burning you in the street. That's good. What do you got, Ramsey? India. India is your worst patriarchal society. China comes in second. Now, some of the big things you need to know about China and its society is that the ruling people during the Zhao are going to have a lot of power and a lot of money. Do you think the poor are going to be pretty good or pretty tight on money? Very, very tight. There's a lot more poor than there should be. So are the people happy or cranky? Cranky. So guess what? Once the invaders come in, is there going to be any loyalty amongst the people? No. If you're poor and you're starving, you can't feed yourself, it's not going to work out well. Okay, patriarchy. It's going to have the father is going to lead the family. Patriarchal society makes sense. We're also going to have ancestral veneration. It starts with the Zhao. Ancestral veneration is going to follow us all the way through Chinese history until period 6, or modern day. Ancestral veneration, what is it? Ripke.
They worship ancestors who died.
Okay, but like, what does that mean?
Like when you thought when you died.
Well, I mean, I have a Nana who passed away about 5 years ago, and I love her, and I think about her. I have a photo of her in my house. Is that ancestral veneration? No, that's a memory. It's a memorial. I have a little memorial in my room. She was amazing. Okay, what is ancestral veneration? Have you guys ever seen Mulan? Yeah. You haven't. Most of you haven't seen Mulan. What the hell are you people
Wait.
doing?
Which,
Mulan is the Chinese girl
oh my
who
God,
goes.
the guy.
Yeah, she pretends she's a guy. Yeah, it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a great movie. I don't make a ton of reference, but I do. Okay, in the beginning of the movie, she stands in front of what look like to us gravestones, right? The little memorial plaques, and she says, "Ancestors, please help me. Please protect me. Please guide me towards," because she's going to go meet the matchmaker, right? Yes. Okay. Ancestor veneration is when you pray to your ancestors to lead you on the right path. It is when, for over here, it's a belief that ancestors protect, provide, and guide the living. So if you need help making a decision, oh my God, should I go to, should I go to FSU or should I go to Florida? You would pray to your ancestors, and your ancestors would send you a sign. Okay? It's that the protection, that if things are going well in your life, it's because your ancestors are protecting you. If things are really bad, your ancestors aren't protecting you because you did something to wrong them. So if you start taking care of them and doing better for them, then they'll take care of you. It's a relationship. It's mysticism. Okay? One of the biggest parts about ancestral veneration is going to be your oracle bones. What are oracle bones? It's a definition you have, so you should know it. What is oracle bones? Oh my God. John! Hi. Why don't you sit all the way up, buddy? Thanks. What are oracle bones?
They're like writing.
No. Nope. Esmeralda.
Oracle bones tend to be from animals, and people use them to see what their fortunes are and how it affects them.
Okay, what it is, have you ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean? I think it's like Stranger Tides or something. It's not the good one. It's one of the crappier other ones. Okay.
On the island, the Indians.
Huh?
They're talking about
That's
that
the
part.
second.
I don't know. I've seen it. I don't think I've ever watched the full thing. But it's with the girl who has like a tortoise shell. And she throws a bunch of stuff into it, like a bunch of bones and different parts and different weird like feather stuff.
That's what
And then
it's-
she sprinkles some stuff on it, and she does this like prayer thing, and then she shakes it, and then tosses it, and then she's like, "Oh my God, look at all these things!" And then she tells them what's gonna happen. Yeah, there's oracle bones. It's a Hollywood version of oracle bones, but it's oracle bones. Essentially, how they fall and how they place, what are touching what, and stuff like that dictate. Your ancestors are placing them and telling you what your future is going to be like. Mysticism, again, connection to your ancestors. It's part of ancestral veneration. If you live a good life, it's because your ancestors are helping you kind of to that degree. Okay? You'll
Dead
see
man's
this.
chest.
Is it dead man's chest?
Yeah.
I'm so glad I know that. There we go. So in my next class. I have no idea. I have no idea. Okay. One thing that you do need to know, it is going to be the Zhao that is going to start writing. They are pictographs. So is this going to be an easy writing system or a challenging writing system? Challenging. Is it going to be used by commoners or elites? Elites. And that's how it's going to stay for quite some time. Chinese today, Mandarin, is the largest dialect of Chinese today, is also very, 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 very hard to learn. Especially non-Chinese trying to learn it because we're not exposed to it. So learning Chinese Mandarin is very, very hard. It's all pictographs to a degree, some representation. Okay? So it's not the same as it was, but it's similar. All right, Zhao, no, you're good. You don't need literature. Steve, we'll come back to them. Southern expansion. There we go. Okay, so you need to know by the Zhao, rule by decree, not law code. As the first to use iron, that's a big deal. Iron, is it stronger or weaker than bronze? Stronger. Is it cheaper or more expensive than bronze? Cheaper, actually.
Yeah, but
It's
isn't
easier to make, a lot more accessible than bronze is, but it takes a lot more heating than bronze does to actually make it malleable.
Isn't it heavier?
It is heavier. It's a lot stronger of a material. It's cheaper and easier to make once you know how to do it, and it's stronger. So bronze is going to start fading out the moment iron starts coming. Like, no one cares about bronze anymore. Except our damn Olympians. Like, how often do you hear the word bronze now? Come on. Not often. Okay, so mandate of heaven is a big thing. Lack of government control falls into warring states. Make sure you know that. To the boards, please. On your whiteboard, please tell me what Chinese dynasty is going to lay the foundation for future governments. What two Chinese dynasties lay the foundation for China's dynasty government? Two. You have two. The answer is what, Ricky?
Shang Zhao.
Shang and Zhao. For a long time, please listen to this. For a long time, people thought the Xia were fake. They thought they were some mystical thing that started. We eventually did find proof that they were actually a real thing, but they are there to start, and that's really it. They start this whole dynastic thing, as in they're the first. They don't really have that much of an influence after. It's the Shang and the Zhao. And eventually those will be the major players we come back to later on. On your whiteboard, please tell me what is going to be created during the Zhao that will remove bronze from being used. Good. Brenna, iron. On your whiteboard, please tell me. The Shang, are they centralized or decentralized? Shang, centralized or decentralized? Sylvia, centralized. Are the Zhao centralized or decentralized? What are they, Charlotte? Decentralized. Attackers from which direction are going to cause the fall of the Zhao? Good. Will? The north. On your whiteboard, please tell me which of my Yellow River dynasties is going to create the mandate of heaven. Good. What do we got? Abby?
Zhao.
Zhao. On your whiteboard, please tell me who's going to keep the bronze a state secret? Who keeps the creation of bronze a state secret or tries? Good. Esmeralda. Shang. All right. So we're transitioning to early India and the Indus River Valley. This is going to be your hardest one. A, I haven't really talked about it that much. B, you're probably less familiar with this. And it's much more complicated than China. Are we excited? We should be. What?
I got a quick question.
Sure.
You said the attackers from the north, did that be the Mongolians?
No, the Mongols don't exist yet. The Mongols aren't going to show up until the end of period 2. They're going to hang out in period 3. And at the end of 3, they're going to be the Mongols. Like Genghis Khan and all that stuff. Killing people in the coolest ways. You know, that's not until 4. All right, so when we talk about early India, this is stuff you just need to commit to memory. All right, you're never going to have a question about Amun-Re again until we get to the midterm. And I remind you that their biggest god is Amun-Re. And you're fine, and we're reviewing for the AP exam. Is that clear? You're not going to really hear me say Xia ever again. Shang, I'm not really going to reference. Zhao will come up a lot more frequently as the year progresses. I am going to be saying the words hairpin and Aryans, and you're going to need to know all of the hairpin and Aryan stuff for the rest of the year, and you'll be using it at least every 3 weeks. So the faster you commit what I'm about to tell you to memory, the easier life is going to be. Because some of this stuff, once you kind of learn it, you use it, it'll come back way later. This stuff we're using all the damn time. And I haven't said that about anything else. Can we agree? So knowing your caste system specifically is going to make your life so much easier. And I guarantee you can use it on your AP exam essays. One of the 6 will have a question about your caste system. So if you can get it down now, you'll be good on at least one essay, I promise. So it's worth the time. So, your hairpin society. Now, your hairpins are going to evolve around the Indus River Valley, which is in South Asia. Biggest thing you need to know, the hairpins are actually known as the Dravidian people. So they're not hairpins, as in like I'm a civilian of the hairpin society. They're Dravidians. And you're going to hear this name kind of come up. Okay, so the Dravidians are the people who are the hairpins. Now, biggest thing you need to know about them is that they're going to be the largest creator of Indian culture. India is one of the most unique places that we'll be looking at, and we'll be looking at all year. The reason is because they're the only ones who've kept their culture as intact and as protected than anywhere else. Their culture pretty much does not change from period 1 until period 4. And that's just because the British show up and they start messing around with it. And then once the British leave at the end of 5, in the middle of 6, then they come back to it and there's some changes. But it's solid through 4, and that's a big deal. And they're trying to protect it. All right. So hairpins are mysteriously going to die. We don't know why they disappear, but they're going to disappear. So the biggest things you need to know about the hairpin is they're known as the Dromedan people. They're Indus River Valley. They have a goddess. The most important god is a goddess of fertility. So does that mean women are treated well or poorly?
Well,
They're treated pretty well, and they disappear without a trace. We have no idea why they died. However, their culture is intact. Their traditions and stuff like that stay intact, but the actual people disappear. Okay? So after the hairpins, we have what group of people? Aryans. There you go. Now you should have heard about the Aryans before. Have you heard that term before?
Yeah.
Okay. Hitler, when he was in college, had a history professor who talks about the Aryans as one of the greatest warriors of all time, and they are. They're incredibly strong. Apparently, he wasn't listening to the geography. The Aryans are from the region of South Asia. So what color is their skin? They're brown. They're not white. Hitler thinks Aryans are white face, blonde hair, and blue-eyed. Guess what they're not? They're absolutely not. So if you've heard of the Aryans, they're not a bunch of white people. They're brown, and they're in India. So here is your Aryans. Now your Aryans are pastoral, which means they've got cattle, they've got sheep, they've got goats. Biggest thing you need to know, and this is, they create the Vedas. You need to know Vedas. I'm teaching you Hinduism, and I am teaching you in week 6. So in 3 weeks, I'll be teaching you Hinduism. Vedas is Hinduism. The Vedas were written by the Aryans. Do the Aryans practice Hinduism? Hello? No, they don't. They write the foundation of it. Then the people who follow the Aryans are going to take it and create a religion out of it. It's important to know that. So there are 4 books of the Vedas. We'll come back to them. Sanskrit is their language. Sanskrit is still around to a degree. Okay, so they do have a written language. They speak in Sanskrit. We use it. It's going to be used up until period 4. Okay. It will eventually, if you know anyone who is Indian who speaks if they're from India and they speak Hindi, typically. There's different dialects for different regions, but Hindi is the largest, just like China has all different types of Chinese language. Mandarin's the largest, Hindi's the largest. It's as close to Sanskrit as you're going to get. Now, the 4 Vedas, the most important is the Rig Veda. Okay? Talks about all their gods. They are polytheistic. They have over 1,000 gods. Yeah. I don't know how you keep them straight, but they do. And we'll talk about more into it. Now, the Vedic age, when the Aryans are going around kicking it, they're warriors. They're a warring class. They're a warring state. They go around. They fight the Dravidians. So does that mean the Hairpins and the Aryans are existing at the same time? If they're fighting? Yes. However, the rise of the Hairpins, the Aryans aren't there. As the Hairpins are falling, guess who's rising? Aryans. So when we say one then the next, there's always overlap. There's very few times that there is not overlap. Does that make sense? It's easier to say, well, they came first than this, but we're talking about high points. Okay? Like there's a little bit of overlap of the Greeks and the Romans. Very little, but there is. Okay? But there's a ton of overlap between the Greeks and the Persians and the Romans. We'll get to that in 2 weeks. All right. They do have iron, and they do increase agriculture. All right, this is what you need to know. You need to know this. I cannot stress how important this is. This is their caste system. What is the caste system? Essentially, it is what? T.
Social class.
is a social class system. Is it easy or very rigid, T? Very, very, very rigid, which means if you're in the Brahmin class, is that you?
Yeah.
Oh, God. What? You need to know every single one. I would take a picture of my wall. You need to know the Brahmins. You need to know the Kashitra, the Vaishya, the Shudra, and the Untouchables. You need to know the order. You need to know what they stand for. You need to know the word jati. We'll be using them all the way through period 6. Those are the big key things that you need to know. It's a very big deal. Have a great day, guys.